Swahili, claims his predicament began when he did not receive his salary for 8 years. He was arrested at Parliament in 2002 alongside his colleague on his way to deliver a petition on behalf of 50 soldiers who had not received their salaries. Masembe, alongside his colleague, were carted off to a safe house senior summit view in a tranquil and upscale neighborhood in Kololo. This dark dungeon became the place of abode for Masembe the next 11 years. All he recalls were the brutal beatings at the hands of his tormentors in the hair hole. Eventually, lost his manhood as a result of the torture. However, Uganda Human Rights Commission claims safe houses were closed after a return of complaints.
We have established that government responded to the criticisms that were made over some time, including those which were made by our commission and the advice we gave, and safe houses were phased out.
The army says they are still investigating the matter. In our second series of Masembe's 11 years in incarceration tomorrow, we will reveal how he walked to freedom. Ingo Francis, Ntv Weekend Edition.
Thank you, Francis. The General Court Martial trying suspects in the Rwanda sub-region tribal clashes has finally granted bail to 2 officials of the Rwanda Kingdom. Prime Minister Noah Nzagali and the Minister in charge of the veterans, Yona Mlima, were arrested over 2 weeks ago. The short court session chaired by Major General Levi Karuhanga was held at Kabarole District Headquarters.
So far, 2 people have been granted bail. These are 2 ministers from the Rusinga Warenzururu, Mr. Nzagali Noah and Mr. Mulema Yolanda. The 2 have obtained bail and have been their defense counsel.
Now, as the country hurtles towards the 2016 general elections, we bring you a story of some of the longest-serving ministers and members of parliament in the 9th parliament. Among these long-serving MPs and ministers are Internal Affairs Minister Sam Kutesa, Defence Minister Dr. Crispus Chionga, and Second Deputy Premier Henry Kajura. Agnes Nandutu spoke to some of them and now highlights their contribution to the development of the country.
Dr. Crispus Chionga wrote on the web of mass discouraging in Kasese when the only UPM party seat in 1980. By then, the Bakungu were agitating for autonomy from Toro, a position the operative government did not grant. He was appointed as Minister of Cooperatives and Marketing with NRM to cover the reign in 1986. Chionga has also served as Finance Minister, Internal Affairs Minister, and Health Minister. He was appointed a National Political Officer in 2001. Chionga is now serving as the Minister of Defense.
The country's economy was very, very narrow. It was a centralized economy. The GDP was low. Now we have a much bigger GDP. The economy has grown thanks to the administration of the NRM.
Alongside Chionga, Tesa is the only other lawmaker who was in the 42th of Parliament. During the acrimonious 1980 polls, Kidesa defeated his in-law Yoweri Museveni, who was by then the charismatic leader of the UPM party for the Nyabiso seat. In the 6th Parliament, Kidesa, who was a junior minister for finance, was censured and subsequently was sacked from cabinet. He, however, bounced back to take over the role as investment minister for finance. Currently, he is the foreign affairs minister and was recently elected to the coveted seat as the president of the United Nations Assembly. Both Kidesa and Kiyonga have never lost their seats.
We have also contributed to the stabilization of other brothers on the continent. The most recent example being Somalia.
Henry Kajura perhaps has the richest CV among his politicians. He served as an administrator in various districts during the British rule. In 1966, he worked as the deputy general manager of the Central Bank, secretary of the East African Business Bank from 1967 to 1973, and between 1973 to 1978 as managing director and chairman of the Uganda Commercial Bank, and later appointed as governor of the Bank of Uganda from 1978 to 1979. He has since then joined the dockets of trade and industry, natural resources, and is currently second deputy prime minister and minister in charge of public service.
I've used my past experience to influence the trend of things, and in many cases, I have succeeded.
General Moses Ali, a former military officer who participated in the 1971 coup, is now the third deputy prime minister and deputy leader of government business. General Moses Ali also worked as the finance minister in the Idi Amin regime.
I was also involved in bringing back the people of Uganda, exiles, and we have also joined hands with President Museveni, to maintain this peace now.
Other MPs who have been in parliament since the NRM took power in 1986 and still MPs today are Rebecca Kadaga, who is the first female speaker, Major General Kim Mukwezi, Major General Kahinda Otafire, Amama Mbabazi, Cecilia Ogwal, General A. Tumwine, and John Nasasira. Many of them say they have been re-elected because of serving interests of voters.
My philosophy is working for and with the people.
I'm not involved in corruption.
Simplicity. Just as you have called me here, I'm not giving you any conditions.
We achieved the purpose of having uniformed people in the parliament to bring that harmony between the armed forces and the political and the other politicians, the civilians.
Whereas some of these politicians in the evening of their lives said they would not seek re-election in 2016, it is not a guarantee because they stay in politics for a lifetime. Agnes Madutu, Ntv Weekend Edition.
Thank you, Agnes. Now, the former Bishop of Kampala, Zach Nyiringia's advice to the youth is to take charge of their political destiny by actively participating in reform processes. Bishop Zach was speaking at the closure of a National Youth Conference at Makerere University this afternoon. Moses Akena has more.
They may have participated actively in the National Youth Conference through their contributions, but have also been criticized for failing to put their ideas in practice.
The transformation is not just come from borders. The transformation has come from higher institutions of learning.
Bishop Zach and some of the panelists underscored the need for a united youth network to grant their interest.
Political pressure must be generated by your generation. How will that happen when you are open? No, just not doing alone.
The youth should also begin thinking about how they can use politicians to better themselves. And this requires the youth to be innovative, because when you don't innovate, you expire.
That Uganda has one of the youngest population in the world is undisputed. But the question is, how do they use their numbers to their advantage?
You can give a 20,000 gigabytes tomorrow. How about the next time? How about your child? You white people and give us to the same hospital using candles. We should use our mamas to go to the streets and demand for our rights. That is people business. The nation is national connection.
Bishop Irungie also accused the NRM government of dictatorship and the Police and the Electoral Commission of being partisan.
If you are elected and you are in office, then you stand under, but for what is up?
The political authority can wake up and say, and start to use. We have proposed we need that commission to protect it by law.
The conference was organized by the University Forum on Governance and Conrad Admiral's TikTok to help shape young people's minds towards an inclusive and democratic electoral process. Moses Sakena, Ntv.
Officials of KCCA and Uganda Railway Corporation have started surveying and demarcating reserved land in Chinataka. The authorities said they will only compensate for those who were on the railway reserved land before 2001.
For some time now, the authorities have asked people to vacate railway reserves as they prepare for new developments regarding the recommencing of commuter rail transport. Today, KCCA and officials of Uganda Railway Corporation witnessed the survey of the land. There were tears as people implored KCCA to grant them enough time to leave. In spite of the pleading, the surveyors went on with their work. After the operation, KCCA held a press conference to explain what was going on.
We are only reminding our people to comply so that we can work towards reviving this transport system.
Now, you have probably seen women sporting a beard, and it does not seem normal at all, considering beard is a man's thing. There is a good number of them who do not really know why their bodies undergo these changes like men. And there are also several myths about why women grow beards, but little is known about the real cause of this unusual occurrence. Medical experts say that if the growth of this hair is a lot, it could cause infertility in women.
Adolescence comes with several body changes in girls and boys alike. The realization that your body is changing can be quite frightening in some cases. It becomes even more alarming if the wrong changes are happening. Developing strands of hair on her chin was a change that threw the then 17-year-old Miriam Buchana Gandhi off balance. She recalls the social stigmatization she was subjected to when her beard started growing.
I got scared a bit. And when my brother used to tease me, I really got scared.
One myth about women with beards is that it is connected to fortune and a blessing of future riches. This was Miriam's consolation.
In secondary schools, girls used to say, "Hey, you are lucky, you'll be rich." Hey, even boys used to say that when you steal one of the, just steal a small beard from her when she's asleep, you put in your pocket, you'll get money.
Now 54 years old, the beard does not frighten Miriam anymore and has in fact become her identity.
Some parents who look for me because I'm a teacher, they look for someone with a beard. That's the description the children give them.
Miriam has however not taken the trouble to find out exactly why she has hair on her chin, even as her four sisters have it too. Dr. Wilberforce Kamweri, a surgeon at Nakuru Hospital, says that beards in women are caused by a hormonal imbalance in the woman's body.
They have a higher percentage of male hormones. And usually what happens is that you have areas where these hormones actually act a little more than the other places.
This hormonal imbalance, according to Dr. Kamweri, causes hair to grow on other parts of the body, like the chest, the hands, on the back, and on the belly.
In for ladies, actually, you have estrogens, but when they are suppressed, the androgens actually go beyond almost 80% of the hormones. Then you are able to develop such kind of beard
Developing a beard in women can also be a genetic trait. Sometimes this hormonal imbalance affects the development of other parts of her body.
If you look at ladies who have beards, they actually look more men. Actually, they are masculine. And that's as a result of the testosterone, because it leads to increase in mass bulk.
If this beard-producing hormone develop in excess in the body of a woman, it could, in the worst of situations, cause infertility.
When their menstrual cycle also change, some become amenorrheic, they don't have their menses. If they are able to produce, you realize that they will end up actually having a lot of challenges. One of the biggest challenges they have is that when you have more blood hormone, you realize that your pelvis will not be like a lady.
Dr. Haboru says that developing a beard is not a normal occurrence, but a disorder that needs immediate attention and treatment.
You can use drugs that suppress those hormones.
There are several forms of treatment one can seek, but it is recommended that it should be when the beard is in its early stages of growth. Gertrude Tunisime Ukrai, Ntv.
Thank you, Gertrude. Rwanda's story has often been looked at from the prism of its dark history, but Rwanda oozes a rich culture. Often this story is told through a rich blend of music, dance and drama. In a last episode of our Rwanda Dispatch, our reporter Shilonda Huchire finds out how Rwandans are using dance to promote tourism and tell their story.
From its versatility, the Rwandan dance is an exquisite piece of art. The Inode dance, as it is locally known, is one of Africa's longest established musical traditions. Unlike other countries, this dance cuts across the three indigenous tribes of Rwanda, the Twa, Hutu, and the Tutsi. The locals say this dance evokes the spirit of unification and a sense of belonging. To understand the Kinyarwanda dance, we visited the Rwanda Northern Province district of Musanze, where Igitaramo, a widely popular event where locals gather to share folklore stories and folks. Surrounded by the rolling Virunga Mountains, Musanze district, with its lush greenery, is very cold. However, these dancers ignored the biting cold to put on a thrill for the guests. This dance is performed by men wearing grass wigs and carrying spears. Each of the outfits worn by the dancers is symbolic. Each depicts the man as warrior, like it was in the primordial times. The male dancers move from side to side, combining grace and complex choreography with a touch of aggression. The idea of moving the head around portrays the man's role as the titular head in the family.
A man is someone who has to take care of the family, is the one who has to look after the kids, so that when he is doing this, he says, I'm in the right, I'm in the left, I'm in front, and back.
At certain stages, the dancers stop, with arms outstretched and make blood-curdling battle cries, while in other times, the cacophony from the drums fades out. On the other hand, the swiftness and ease with which the women move their bodies mirrors the perception of the Rwandese woman, who should embody an amiable and gentle character.
That means they are very, very also beautiful wives. They are very friendly wives. They are very skilled wives.
They're very expressive, and the dance is very full of life and spiritual, and I just really enjoy it. I feel like I'm in Rwanda.
I too joined in the fray with the hope that I might acquire the skill. The battle trumpet from the male dancers portrays the warrior's fighting skills and how many enemies he has slain in battle. Often, when herdsmen were out grazing, they would engage in a mock fight to prove who was stronger. Battles traditionally involved Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa fighting alongside each other against a common adversary.
Dance is one of the many activities that Rwandans are using to attract people to their country. For instance, just right behind me are a group of dancers that represent the kind of life the Rwandans live. The warriors. Shilandumushure, Ntv, Musanze district, Rwanda.
Now from Rwanda we head to Netherlands, which is the largest maritime freight transport country in Europe. The volume of goods handled on Dutch ports totals 550 million tons every year. The port of Rotterdam is sometimes called the gateway to Europe because of its proximity to the North Sea and very large network of roads and rail that connects Rotterdam to the rest of Europe. It is the fourth largest port internationally situated in the Rotterdam city, the second largest city in the Netherlands, and on average, the port handles more than 440 million tons of cargo.
The Port of Rotterdam plays a key role in the Dutch economy. Its only other competitor in the Netherlands is the Port of Amsterdam. The two handle goods amounting to 550 million tons every year. The Port of Rotterdam Authority manages this port, and the facility is jointly owned by the state and the municipality of Rotterdam. Rotterdam handles both dry and liquid cargo, and this cargo is mostly transported in containers. The port has 5 oil refineries that process crude oil, which is then sent to the rest of Europe. There are 45 other chemical companies situated in Rotterdam.
The port of Rotterdam is the biggest and busiest in Europe. Vessel traffic is a very common thing here. Port authorities estimate that in 2014 alone, more than 16 million containers are going to be offloaded here in Rotterdam.
The 16 million containers expected to go through Rotterdam this year come from thousands of locations all over the world, including Uganda, which mainly exports coffee to Europe. Lying on the banks of the New Maas River, the port of Rotterdam has a long, rich history, going as far back as the mid-14th century when Rotterdam was a small town. Its connection with the North Sea was poor, but in the late 19th century, a canal was dug to improve on the connection. The depth of the canal is such that all types of vessels can sail through it. High-level technology is used to handle cargo at the port. Thousands of containers are loaded or offloaded using automatic robotic cranes and computer-controlled chariots operated by highly trained personnel. STC Netherlands Maritime University is one of the institutions that train cargo handlers and ship captains. A cargo handler is given tasks on a simulator like this one until they perfect their skills. The same applies to ship captains. Simulation exercises are routine. STC also trains people in cargo shipping and logistics so as to make the chain of cargo movement complete. From the time a container is loaded en route to Rotterdam, then to the rest of Europe, the client is sure of professional handling. Oil, building materials, agricultural produce, minerals, steel, coal, wood and coffee are some of the bulk handled at the port of Rotterdam. Rotterdam is also among the major tourist cities in the Netherlands. The key attractions include its impressive skyline and imposing buildings like the N Hotel, the main office of the Port of Rotterdam, and the former head office of the Holland-American Line, a cruise line that took thousands of Dutch citizens to the US in the 19th and 20th centuries. Many other historical and modern-day structures continue to draw tourists to this quiet, yet economically vibrant city in the west of the Netherlands. Frank Olsen, NTV.
We'll take a short break and return with these stories and so much more. Still to come on Talk of the Nation, security in the region and how we can use peaceful means to resolve conflict. And President Museveni commits to funding the Cranes and the Under-17 football teams. Ntv Weekend Edition continues shortly.
Ntv Weekend Edition. This is New Closer Deep Action. We created it to give the world 3 times stretch of breath and eliminate up to 99% of germs. Maybe we went too far. There's an outbreak of freshness. So fresher bread. It's the CTM Big Sale. We're offering discounts on our latest tiles and bathroom accessories. Guess what? Every purchase of 500,000 shillings you make gets you to a draw to be a lucky winner of awesome, fabulous prizes. Don't miss out on our new arrivals from all over the world. Come visit us at our new Kampala showroom located at Plot 22 to 24 Kibuli Road, opposite Villa Park, or call 0312-261-888. CTM, more than you expect for less than you think.
The Ministry of Health announced the first national conference on family planning from 28th to 30th of October 2014 in Kampala Serena Hotel, under the theme Accelerating Social and Economic Transformation through Universal Access to Voluntary Health Planning. His Excellency President Jory Mutamseven is expected to open the conference on Monday 28th June at 2 p.m. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health in partnership with UNMPs and other organizations.
Episode of the Dr. Tana Show. People think that I'm strange, bro. It's not for me. To find out why is nothing is there. Why you think and why you do nothing is there. What? Some people don't take me again. What am I like? We told them not together. Look at this family before they got DSTV. They look at them now. These guys are enjoying sporting action like the Champions League, the EPL, NBA, Formula 1, and so many more super sport channels on DSTV. If it's not DSTV, then turn it off. Yes, just turn it off.
Stop tapping and start shaving. Introducing Gillette Blow 3. Its upper blade, easy rinse design gives you cleaner blades for a smooth shave. No more tapping. Gillette Blow 3. Cleaner blades for a smooth shave. Gillette by P&G, everyday quality brands.
You are watching Ntv Weekend Edition.
Now, East Africa remains largely a hotbed of insecurity, with the latent threat of terrorism coming top on other challenges, including the proliferation of arms across the porous borders that sustains a cycle of crime. Yet, as a result of attempts to use military means to vanquish some of these threats, the players often pour action on troubled waters. How can we use dialogue to resolve some of these complex insecurity problems? This and more on Talk of the Nation tonight. Now, Dr. Businje Kabumba, a law donor at Makerere University and human rights activist, has just returned from the volatile South Sudan and Rwanda. Good evening, Dr. Businje.
Good evening.
Welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Thank you.
On the fora that you attended in both of these countries, the question of peace must have been on the agenda. How can the East African region, shrouded in insecurity, become an oasis of peace?
Well, of course, the assumption is that, peace is a given. And the fact of the matter is that conflict may be, in some cases, inevitable. There have been scholarship from, I think, from 2005 to present, particularly Christopher Kramer's Civil War is not a Civil Thing, that has overturned the dogma that suggested that, and actually even suggestions about the human right to peace. And it suggests that, conflict may be not only unpreventable, but in some cases desirable, in certain limited instances. So it might not always be the case that you can prevent conflict or manage it.
I think you raise a very pertinent issue there. I mean, many of the regimes in East Africa prefer to use military means to confront challenges. But there's also a time and a place for a diplomatic approach.
Yeah.
How do we strike a balance, or how do we decide when to use what?
In the first place, I think there must be an understanding of when you come in and when governments can go it alone. And the framework under the UN Charter is that essentially the compromise was to make it collective security, collective peacekeeping, collective approaches towards conflict. So in essence, you have in the first place an obligation to resort to the Security Council, which is supposed to be the overall protector, because otherwise then you can have multiple actors with multiple interests intervening for their own interests and exacerbating conflict. So the default position is United Nations Security Council action. And it's only in one limited sense that then countries can go it alone, and that is self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. And that self-defense includes also defense of another state. And that is in specific instances, especially where one has been called upon. So in essence, the idea that one state or states, a group of states can unilaterally decide when to intervene is very problematic for good reason and has been really frowned upon.
Okay, some critics say that the NRM regime's aggressive policy in the region serves to intensify conflict, which could sometimes have been resolved more amicably. Now, others accuse the regime of brinkmanship to gain favour from the West. Do you think Uganda might be part of the problem in the region?
I think our intentions are in the right place in certain instances. The challenge is how our action is taken, and the problem of perception, and the challenges that might happen if we don't intervene in a very principled manner and a careful manner. For instance, South Sudan, I think, is the most recent example and a very powerful example of acting fast and thinking later. And the idea that now the sort of the approach has shifted from the military intervention to talking almost belatedly, I think it just exemplifies the challenge of shooting fast and then asking questions later. My experience in South Sudan recently, speaking to judges there from the Supreme Court to Court of Appeal level, you get a sense that it's a very fragile situation where the South Sudanese are themselves still trying to walk daintily around the minefields of what it means to share a common heritage and common citizenship. And for an external actor, therefore, to come in without really asking questions or seeking to understand the complexity of the issue, I think is extremely dangerous, not just for us who are intervening, but also for the chances for a sustainable and long-term peace in that region. That said, I think there are very serious indications that Uganda's intervention at the time it happened might have prevented the genocide. And in that sense, perhaps a pre-1994, a repeat of the 1994 genocide rather might have been averted. But that said, I think there's a very real space for the notion of at least certain action that's under the auspice of the UN, and if not, then under the auspice of the African Union. But going it alone might expose us. Even if our intentions in the first place were noble, it just exposes you to, first of all, the risk of making a mistake that can't be solved, or that can be easily amended, but also the risk of being made to pay heavily under international law.
Okay, and there are fears that as a result of political expediency and the wish to hold on to power, will continue to worsen insecurity in the region. Would you put South Sudan's Salva-Kiir in this category?
The challenge of South Sudan is a challenge of a number of African countries. It's a short experience, but we are not very far from South Sudan, really. A number of African countries, I think the example of Ivory Coast, which was for a long time peaceful, it's held up as the paragon, of peace, and then suddenly breaking into armed conflict, I think is a very good example. Kenya, for instance, whoever thought that you could have violence in Kenya, and then suddenly. So I think we're all living in a state of fragility, where we have peace, even in Uganda here and other countries. We have a very fragile peace, which peace can easily, overturn and come into violent conflict. So I'm very hesitant to say that solutions in Uganda can be exported without any modifications elsewhere. That's also very difficult to second-guess the actions of a president like Salva-Kiir, who is fighting to hold this country together. What can be said is that you have certain recipes for violence that are sort of, now understood, that you have, if you don't solve the ethnic problem, if you don't solve the resource problem, if you don't solve certain, sort of given causes of conflict, which may just trigger off long-held conflict, then you have then the formula for violence. So that is known. And so the challenge now, I think, is for heads of state, or not just heads of state, but citizens themselves, to struggle to manage conflict so that they become necessarily armed and violent conflict, where the one is the loser, the winner. But I think essentially it is that, it's very easy after the fact to say who could have done what, who could have done the other. But in the sense of managing long-term conflict, I think that becomes more difficult. And I think in that sense, the elders group that has been set up by Nelson Mandela in 2007, I think is a step in the right direction. You have this group of independent experts, now chaired by Kofi Annan, who seek to ask the difficult questions, and they say that they are willing to even listen to those who are very unpopular. And I think that's what is needed, the willingness, and that's why we failed it in South Sudan. At the beginning we said, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, we're going to fight the bad guys and support the good guys. In most cases, you need the bad guys to have peace. So going in and shooting and throwing bombs may not be the solution. You might actually need to talk more to the bad guy, because that's the person you need to who needs to stop shooting. So the idea of going in guns blazing, I think, has been proven to be false and necessarily problematic.
And you mentioned Nelson Mandela, and I can't help but ask this question. Can we have peace in a region where we have hawkish leaders who prefer to sound war drums and engage in an arms race rather than make concessions towards peace? Where are the Nelson Mandelas of this world?
I think they're very few, and I think the problem has been that peace building, peace overtures are seen as a sign of weakness. You see, so the idea of militarism, the culture of militarism that has grown up domestically, but has also now been seen at the national level. We've been talking about it for a long time, but it seems people don't quite get the implications of this or the dangers of militarism. But then it begets a culture where peace and peace overtures are seen as a sign of weakness, which is extremely bad. And then instead, hawkishness and aggressiveness, military aggressiveness are seen as a sign of strength, and sort of the signs of responding regional recognition. And that leads to lots of lives, really difficult to see. And so perhaps a return to a notion of mobility or strength.
They'll bring me down up to like this.
And interestingly, there have been suggestions, scholarship that has suggested that perhaps what you're missing are women in leadership. Because it seems to be that men's natural inclination or the macho culture in terms of international relations has exacerbated conflict. And if you look around at the nation that's headed by women, there's simply a suggestion that soft power that can be very strong, and especially under Russia has dealt with the Ukraine conflict and others. And I think point towards where we should be going, the sense of women in leadership.
Perfect point to end this discussion. That was Dr. joining us from the nation tonight to discuss the question of religion. So we'll take a short break and return.
You're watching Ntv Weekend Edition.
Against germs, I recommend regularly use soap. Safeguard removes millions of germs, and additionally it inhibits growth of germs that might cause skin rashes from allergies.
That is why me, mommy, daddy, and my brother regularly use Safeguard.
Supported by the African Medical Association.
After a Pampers night, wake up to a great next day. After a dry night of sleep, wake up to a day of even more fun. Thanks to new and Pampers. No super gel. It locks wetness inside. Keep it away from your baby's skin, so every day is a great one. Pampers, now with no super gel for unbeatable dryness.
Ugandan Motors Corporation Uganda Limited is Uganda's reliable distributor for new Holland tractors, combine harvesters, gas construction equipment, planters, retovators, all readily available and backed up by full manufacturer's warranty, genuine spare parts, and highly trained service staff to ensure ongoing technical support for your machinery and equipment. Ugandan Motors Corporation is Uganda's leading and most reliable agricultural equipment supplier and partner. Find us at CMC Building,
Now you can grab your own StarTimes decoder for only 70,000 Uganda shillings. Get your decoder with a basic bouquet at only 86,500 shillings, or with a unique bouquet at only 100,000 shillings. With 70 plus channels, StarTimes gives you the best digital life. Subscribe to any bouquet for 2 months and get 15 days free, or subscribe for 3 months and get 1 month free. For more information, please contact us on 0417 117700. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Ntv Weekend Sport. Uganda's hopes of making an impressive start to their international sevens rugby heroes has suffered a big blow this afternoon after falling to Australia in the ongoing Commonwealth Games. The Sevens Cranes went down 43-5 in the opening game played at the Idol Stadium in Glasgow. Uganda also lost to Trinidad and Tobago in table tennis as Swimmer Arnold Kisumu came 11 in the men's 50 meters breaststroke. And on to kickboxing, Patricia Apollo retained the national lightweight kickboxing title after registering a technical knockout against 20-year-old Jackie, the Iron Lady Nasiba at Liverpool last night. Alex Matsiko won his 5-round bout against Hungary's Esteban via split decision. The victors are now hoping for leading to challenge for opponents on the world stage.
Patricia Apollo's good progressing for title NATO on the world stage got a major boost after she outfought her challenger Jackie Nasiba at Liverpool last night. The 5 rounds were dominated by Apollo as she committed her moment with punches before the referee saved Nasiba from further punishment in the 4th round. The decision by the umpire left the bitter taste in the mouth of the losing team official.
That is unfair.
It's just one step to the next of the steps that I'm going to start. So the next step is African title.
In the other fight, Alex Masiko's 5-year training spent in the Minister School of Martial Arts in Rwanda as he overcame Hungary's Esteban to the Gogo. Moscow forced Esteban to kiss the carpet several times.
The stamina is what has helped me to this fight to the end. Because I knew this guy had a lot of techniques. I didn't have to use techniques. Because I know if it was techniques, he was more experienced than I am. So I had to call him not to give him any chance of getting on me. That's how I managed to overcome him.
Moscow now has 8 wins in his 9 professional kickboxing engagements. Alfred Odom, Ntv Weekend Sport.
Moving on, the Uganda Cranes campaign to qualify for the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations final group stages has gotten an impetus after President Museveni committed himself to sponsoring the team. Museveni has also committed himself to sponsoring the under-17 junior football team, which is vying for the Africa Youth Cup. The promise comes on the heels of the cash-struck Federation's threat of pulling out either the junior or senior team. The Cranes beat Mauritania 2-0 in the first leg held in Kampala last weekend, barely hours after their under-17 counterparts crushed Rwanda by 4 goals to 0. FIFA recently announced that they needed 460 million shillings to honour the Cranes' return leg in Mauritania and another 170 million shillings for the under-17 team who are due to travel to Dubai. Although FIFA has not yet confirmed how much money the president will contribute, a statement on the State House website has confirmed that the president will keep all the bills of the board for the weekend. If Uganda goes past Mauritania next weekend, they will join Ghana, Guinea and Togo in the group stage of the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinals. And moving on to basketball, Power last night beat Kampala International University Titans to keep alive their hopes of retaining the national basketball league title. Paul Odom and Michael Kojo were instrumental in Power's victory, while David Donut and Julius Mutama were in tip-top form for KIV Titans. Power exhibited pedigree which could push them to the playoffs in the first round of the National Basketball League with a 12-point victory over Kampala International University Titans. The two sides shared spoils in the first quarter with 13 points each, Power proving a better side in the second quarter with a game-winning score of 19 against Titans' 12 points. Despite losing the third and fourth 14-16 and 14-17 respectively, Power edged their rivals by 16 to 58 points. Michael Kojo and Paul Odong took credit for the former champions' victory as they dropped Power's score sheet by 15 points each. David Donat and Julius Otama, shooting instincts for the Titans, contributed 18 and 17 points respectively. And officials and parents of Uganda Junior League teams expect to see the affairs impressing European scouts and getting contracts with the league clubs to further sharpen the natural skills for professional careers. They are to field the two teams in the Warrior Kelly Cups that kicks off in England next Saturday.
Uganda Junior League becomes the England on Monday with two teams for the Warrior Kelly Cup to be played in Manchester starting next weekend. Uganda Junior League's under-10 side have an applicants for defending the title they won last season. The under-11 team opened their campaign against Brigham Juniors from Canada. Officials and parents have their own expectations, including betting networks as well as securing partnership with talented players, skill development, and opportunities for professional careers.
It's important that we widen the scope, we support him all the way so that he can diversify. Just in case he fails in academics, he may not fail in the extracurricular activities, for example.
In Manchester, they'll be there. His Man City will be there. So there are some scouts who are going to be around that place. So we hope that if we have a good chance and we hope to get one of the scouts, maybe one of our players will too, and also go to that the main league. That's the Uganda League.
Uganda Junior League said have their last training sessions in Kampala tomorrow. They will arrive in Manchester to acclimatize for about 3 days before the competitions kick off. Alfred Odom, Ntv Weekend Sport.
And that's all the sporting action we could bring you. And today is certainly a happy day for NTV's Chris Ochamuringa as family and friends celebrate the start of his journey into holy matrimony with his lovely bride, Sharon Nagashi. The ceremony took place at Eden Bible Church in Rwanda, and our news crew was there as always to witness this milestone in the life of one of her very own. We now bring you the highlights.
Will you be faithful to her as long as you both shall live? Praise God. Sharon, do you take Chris to be your husband as long as you both shall live? Okay, praise God. That's condition. Yes. She's the one.
Worry.
Sharon, I give you this ring. It's a sign of our marriage. With my body, I honor you. All that I am, I give to you.
Praise. This ring, directly to you, to me else.
It's a perfect day. When it comes to shooting stars, I am seeing you.
A happy day indeed for Mr. and Mrs. Wish you the life. That brings us to the end of NTV Weekend Edition tonight. I'm Luciana Namini. Thank you for watching. Join me once again.